Good morning, good morning, good morning from a very chilly Loveland, Colorado. Getting all my videos started this morning. Bear with me for just a moment. All right, Diego, off you go. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Painting in Your PJs live with Minette. Super excited to finally be back after a week of having the flu, which was not particularly fun, but definitely on the mend. You can hear I'm still a little stuffy, and you might hear me sneezing and coughing a little bit today, but happy to be back live and to finally get back to my art journal practice as well and our January prompts. If you are on my newsletter, then you received those prompts earlier this month for free, and I will send them out one more time. Again, if you would like a copy of those prompts, you can tag me in the comments below and I can give you a link to download those prompts as well. There are 24 January prompts that I am calling Renew, Reflect, Refresh. And they're a little bit deeper prompts than we've done before, really about reflecting on the journey that we've been on over the last year or months. Good morning, Leslie. I'm getting there slowly but surely. Thank you, thank you. And also looking ahead to the new year. So when I was reading through the prompts this morning and deciding which one that I wanted to tackle or explore this morning, the one I decided to take on is one about creating courageous silhouettes and looking at what is the courage that I need in order to move towards my aspirations. And when I connect this to my word of the year, which is light for this year, I am light is my mantra. And I want to be light-hearted. I want to be light on my feet. I want to be light of spirit. And even though I've been sick for the last week, I've mostly been in pretty good spirits until the last couple of evenings because I'm getting a little frustrated with the stuffy nose and the coughing. But then I remember my mantra and I'm light of spirit. So I picked a palette to work with today. I'm really loving this idea of just kind of working with three primaries and black and white. So I'm going to stick with that at least for today. I'm working in my big Hannemuhle sketch diary that I love. And I've got a primary yellow, a turquoise green, and a quinacridone magenta. Good morning, Yvonne. I've got some scrap paper left over from a bookmaking project. So I finished my first two books for the Handmade book club over the weekend, which was pretty exciting. I'm such really a novice bookmaker for making sort of nicer books. So that was a fun experiment. And I've got some collage papers. I was going through a stack of stuff and I found these inspired by Willa Wanders and her wonky bits. These are super fun to make. And so when I think about courage, I think about courage blooming. So I've got some of those for maybe the upper layers and then just some collage papers. And I took a couple of minutes ahead of time to do some journaling about courage. I did it big and really messy because I didn't need anyone to read what it was that I was writing. I just wanted to be able to get those words down on the page. And a lot of people always ask, what is the journal that I'm working in? So this is a Hannemuhle sketch diary, which I love because it has lines on one side of the page for journaling and then blank pages for creating. And it really is sketch papers. So for mixed media work, when you're working just in a sketchbook without great paper, it's a good idea to increase the integrity of the page with a layer of gesso, or in my case, I'm going to do some collage and matte medium to get me started this morning to sort of thicken up that page. But surprisingly, it does take the mixed media and wet media pretty well, even takes watercolor pretty well. I love that it has this nice little pocket in the back, and this is the one that I started way back in November as my gratitude journal, and still want to be able to fill up and complete some of these complete these journals. And I love looking through my old journals, and one of the things that makes me giggle about myself, and I don't really have an explanation for, is I never completely finish a journal. So I always end up leaving a page or two at the back blank and moving on to a new one. I can't tell you why I do that, but I do it. So I've done some writing with a ballpoint pen. I intentionally chose a blue ballpoint pen because as I start to layer paint and other things on top of the ballpoint pen will show through. In fact, it might be fun to add a little bit of gesso over the top of this. So I'm going to put a little bit of clear gesso on here just because I have it sitting right in front of me. Let's see, it's really thick and old. There may not be any left in there. Let's see what we can do. It's interesting because clear gesso is definitely a little bit smelly. And this just kind of seals that first layer in. Again, it's going to make that page a little bit stronger. And even though I'm definitely not feeling 100% like myself yet, I'm so happy to be back at work this morning and yesterday. And my brain isn't quite, on all gears, but I'm getting there. And so I'm feeling also hopeful. And one of the things that I wrote, good morning, Judy, about courage this morning was about this idea of having the courage to face discomfort. So as I think about my journey towards better health this year, getting stronger. So one of the things that we did at the end of last year, Brad's been going for a while, I joined the local gym that he goes to. And we started the year with these great intentions to get to the gym, of course, and then got sick. But Sunday, we did get out to the gym, and then we were snowed in yesterday, and it's a balmy -10 degrees outside here. And so getting up off the couch, getting out the door for walks and movement, I started a Qigong practice over the last week, which has been lovely and gentle, and I was able to do some stretching and movement even when I wasn't feeling great. So my body does not love sitting still. I get very stiff and sore. And so I'm thinking about all these things as they relate to courage. And as I think about how they relate to courage, I recognize that so much of courage comes from our willingness to face discomfort, whether that is increasing visibility for my business, reaching out and asking for support, whether that is going to the gym and doing things that feel really hard. Usually they're harder in my head, right? But it's easy to not want to go and work out and then feel sore the next couple of days. And then once I go and do it, I always remember how much I actually really enjoy working out and how much better I feel after the fact. So all these things are kind of in my head here as I think about creating a courageous silhouette. So our prompt today is to work with a silhouette. Leslie, you're trying to keep up with Colorado. -6 with a -23 wind chill. I'm so sorry. Oh, that's cold even for you guys. All right, so getting just some bits and layers of collage down to start to just create some texture I'm going to get a few of these, excuse me, little colorful pieces down. So again, when I think about courage, I thought about, you know, the flower doesn't need courage to bloom. It just does. And when we spend so much time thinking about how we're going to get things done and how uncomfortable it's going to be, we spend more time generally worrying about things than actually getting them done. And so I want to be like the flower that just does it. And I don't think so much about it. I don't worry so much about it. I don't think about what's going to happen afterwards, except for the positive side of that, right? The upside of everything that I want to do this year is that I'm going to feel better. I'm going to feel stronger. I'm going to have more energy. I want a few of these little butterflies on here. Okay, I'm loving where this page is going, getting some of these colors down, just building up some of these initial layers. Not needing to cover up the whole page. And I'm getting lots of matte medium, both underneath the image and over the top of the image, because when I come in to add some paint, I definitely want this to be really flat. I don't want those edges to poke up. I love a really flat surface for painting on. All right, so I think that's probably enough collage for the moment. I think I've added enough stuff that I feel good about that page kind of staying solid. It's not going to fall apart or shred on me as I go forward with the rest of the painting. I'm going to set aside, like I said, these strips are left from some scrapbook paper that I was making signature covers for a handmade journal, and I love these papers that somebody gave me. And I love Lisa Goddard's style of weaving painty pages together. And so I want to save these lovely long strips for some weaving a little bit later on. So I'm going to set this aside to dry for just a second. And to create my silhouette, I want to use a handmade stencil. So I've got a fussy cut out image of a woman, -9 in Iowa. Yeah, and it's crazy like snow and ice storms in Eugene, where my daughter is, and they have schools been closed the last 2 days as well. So this is a picture of Gudrun Sodrin from the Gudrun Sodrin catalog. I love her design style, but I really loved when I think about courage. She has these beautiful prints and this very unique style that I admire, but I love she's got her arms kind of wide open and ready to take on the world in her fun style here. And so I'm going to create my own stencil out of this character. Good morning, Tori. And I'm going to do that using a piece of cardstock, a piece of recycled manila folder. She's too wide to go on a tag. Tags are great for doing this. And I want to be able to use this piece as either a mask or a stencil, a mask or a stencil. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. And I really like this picture of her, so I want to keep the picture to use in collage. But I also could just glue her down to the piece of paper and then cut around her would be a simple way to create this. But using magazine images to create abstract figures in your art journal is a really fun practice, helps you create things that are kind of unique to you. So I often look for figures that are in different stances and poses that also have really simple lines that aren't super fussy, so they're easy to cut out. So you can see this creates, just a big kind of blobby silhouette, which is going to be absolutely perfect for what we're doing here today. And then get my bigger scissors here. Then I'm just going to take some scissors and cut this out. I did it on cardstock because once this is cut out, I can use it over and over again. This doesn't have to be a one and done thing. So I have a few of these cut out of tags and cardstock that I use when I want to add these kind of abstract blocky figures to my art journal practice. And this one is simple because I can just cut all the way around her. So, she had like her arm on her hip here. Then I would use an X-Acto knife to make sure we fussy cut out all of those pieces, but also so that I could keep the mask and the stencil in place. So how's everyone doing this morning besides needing to stay warm? So Tori, we've been comparing temperatures this morning. And Yvonne, is it warm in California? My brother very sweetly was sending me the warm, sunny temperatures from Santa Barbara where he lives, but how is it more in the valley? All right. I really like the shape of it's so cold. I really like the shape of this figure. So we're finally warming up today. We won't get above freezing, but we're going to get into I think the upper 20s today after a few very, very cold days. So for an image like this, I really like the shape of this figure. And this one's quite large, is what I started to say a minute ago. So I might also take that image and use my printer to reduce the image and make it smaller so that I could create a stencil and a mask of a smaller image. And I said I was going to create a mask and then I didn't do it. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. I'm going to put myself on mute for just a second. Okay, apparently I'm not going to sneeze. All right, so what I meant to do, like I told you, my brain isn't quite working yet. And actually, this wasn't a good example. I should have moved her over into the center of the paper so I could have cut around her arm because the idea would have been able to use this bit as a stencil and then this bit becomes a mask. And the difference between a stencil and a mask is that with a stencil, we're creating inside of the blank space. With a mask, we put the mask down and paint over it completely, and what's left is the shape of our figure. So we're using this to mask what's underneath as opposed to using this piece to reveal what's to reveal what's inside of the stencil. And I didn't think that through very clearly, but that's okay. We're going to make it work anyway. And I will show you how I'm going to make that work because my idea was, again, to create a silhouette, not a mask for today. So we'll just trace around this figure and it will all be fine. All right. It felt fun this morning to just maybe play with a little bit of oil pastel now that our paint is a little bit dry. Just add to some of our texture. I've been really obsessed with orange lately. Don't ask me why. I just finished an owl painting. It has a gorgeous orange background. So I have been looking at paintings around my studio that were hanging up or sitting around that I wasn't loving and repainting them or touching them up. So I have this painting of a stag with antlers and his ears were kind of flowing off the page. And I'm like, there's something that, I'm not really loving about this. So I put in the effort to repaint his ears, and now I'm so much happier with the painting. And I had an owl painting hanging up, and it was just okay. It wasn't a great owl. I didn't love it, but I really wanted an owl hanging in the studio. So I completely painted over it, and now I have, a history of paintings underneath that painting, which I love the way that paint layers. The more that you add to a canvas, usually the more interesting it becomes. And I have a little squirrel painting that I'm working on, just refreshing. And as we talk about this theme, as I go finally into January of refresh, renew, reflect, I'm looking both at my inner world of what needs refreshing and renewing, but I'm also looking around my space at decluttering, at paintings that need to be brightened up or made new again. So all the different ways that we can repurpose and reuse our own art feels like a really fun refresh as well. All right, so I'm going to come in and start to get a little bit of paint down on this. Something gunky on the end there. And I'm going to stick with a scraper today as opposed to brushes. So the scraper, Starbucks, or any other recycled gift card or old dead credit card or the catalyst wedge, they're so great for really working in thin layers. And I find when I'm doing mixed media art journal pages like this that I often will not use a brush or only use a brush maybe at the very end. So I'm getting some extra paint and I think I'm going to put that here so we can always create a little bit of extra collage paper. And it feels like simplicity is what's needed today instead of my normal, very layered, very complex painty page. That how simple can I keep this? And if I think about aspirations for the year, I want to think about, and I think about courage, I want to think about this idea of, can I make it easy? Can I make it fun? Can I make it simple? So some things are simple but not easy. Like scheduling time to go to the gym is simple. The energy it takes to actually go is a little bit more complicated. All right, so I'm loving this sort of patchworky page. It's a little bit different style of page for me, and I'm going to hit this with the dryer, get it nice and dry. You can see I've got a nice little thick patch of paint here in the center that's taking forever to dry. So let's just blot that up a little bit. You can use up some of that paint on there as well. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and create my silhouette, my courageous silhouette on the page. And like I said, she's pretty big. So she's going to take up most of the page. And I'm already loving looking at what's around her and behind her. It's not going to need a lot more to kind of figure out where I'm going with her. So I'm going to grab a pencil here. So again, if I had created my stencil properly, I would have just used the stencil, but this works just as well because then I could have just painted inside of it. If I were using this as a mask, I would hold this mask down and then I would just paint all over the top of it. And so maybe tomorrow I will show the opposite, since today we're working with a stencil to create a silhouette. Maybe tomorrow we'll work with, not tomorrow, Thursday, we'll work with a mask. Okay, so my new schedule for this year, as of right now, until it gets to be summer and I start a little bit later in the day so I can walk in the mornings before it gets hot, is Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 7 a.m. Mountain Time. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 7 a.m. Mountain Time. Okay, so I'm just going to get some black paint down on here and create my silhouette. Does not need to be perfect. I'm more or less going to paint inside of the lines here. And again, I was just drawn to these arms spread wide of the photograph. I'm really liking these bright colors as well. On a cold day, they help to kind of cheer our spirits. Color is such a powerful tool for boosting our mood. All right, I've lost my pencil outline of her arm there. Yeah, you're welcome, Leslie. Brad and I really talked it through, and it just felt really important to keep it going, and I love it, right? And so there's not really a reason not to keep with the 3 days, but adding the evening one didn't really do anything. For me, it's not my favorite time of day. I thought we might get more people attending live, but interestingly, when you look at the statistics of the channel, most people are watching my channel around lunchtime, and so in the afternoon, like between noon and 2 or 3 o'clock. So I will go live when it works best for me. And whenever I'm home in my studio, I will definitely be here. And then I'm sure there'll be other odd random times as well. All right. Get that stencil on there where I missed that line of her arm. And there we have our courageous silhouette coming together, arms wide, ready to face whatever's coming. And I also am going to take a white Posca pen and do some writing inside of the silhouette, probably some more of that. It'll be my writing, but made really messy so no one can read it. And I love the look of the white writing against the black of that silhouette. I love there's still a little bit of color peeking through. I like the brightness and the color of the background. And I do like it when a page comes together quickly, and then I can have fun with the fussy bits as much as I like. Good morning, Judy. All right, we're all sharing how cold it is where we are. You might win the prize today. It's -7 here. Okay, it's warming up. It was -10 when I started. And it's -6 in the Midwest with a wind chill of -23. Brr. I made these years ago and I stuck them in this envelope and completely forgot about them. So these were from a fun class that from Willa Wanders on creating these little wonky bits. And it just felt like a fun little addition to my silhouette here. And remember, this page is about creating a courageous silhouette. So I did some writing and some journaling about what does that mean to me for this year? What areas of my life do I need more courage in? Where do I want to put my focus and aspiration? And I want to face it, eyes wide open, right? With lots of energy and enthusiasm. And I want to keep things simple. They may not always be easy, but I want to keep them simple, simple, simple. All right, cute little wonky bits. A balmy 9 degrees. It's so cold in Washington. Carol, did you get the ice storm? My daughter's down in Eugene. And I love the artist Elisa Burke, and she posted pictures of all the ice on the beach near where she lives in coastal Oregon as well. Pretty chilly in Ottawa, tons of snow. Great for cross-country skiing and snowshoeing. Snowing again this morning. Yeah, it snowed most of the day here yesterday, which was quite beautiful. All right, I think I'm going to stick these guys on maybe with just some glue stick for now. I can always come back and, excuse me, put a layer of matte medium as needed. But because that black paint is still wet, if I come in here with matte medium, I'm going to get everything covered in black. I'm glad to hear it, Carol, that you did not get an ice storm. So the campus in Eugene has been closed for the last couple of days. All right, so I'm getting paint on my glue stick. here. So I'm going to clean that off and be mindful because I'm trying not to get all that black paint on the top of my pretty white wonky bits. That would be a gorgeous image to create. Hi, April. Welcome, and lurking is always lovely. And April and Judy Judy Field are both in Ottawa. I love the snow globe image. How fun is that from both of you? We feel like that sometimes when it's snowing here too, and it's just so magical. But yesterday afternoon, the sun came out and it was beautiful blue skies, and I'm always grateful to see the sun return. So as you look ahead to the new year, the rest of this year, we're already halfway through this month, and you think about this idea of creating a courageous silhouette and leaning into courage. What do you need courage for in the coming months? Are you taking on something new? Are you wanting to get better at doing something? So I'm just looking at some of these. This little bit's been floating around on my desk for so long, and she really wants to find a home. So maybe she's going to finally find her home on this page, but it needs some black on there to make her stand out a little bit better. All right. So this is my courageous silhouette. It's coming together. And let's see what we can do with this. Don't be afraid to draw, write, paint on fabric. It's actually really fun. And this little piece is made out of a strip of lace and some painty fabric that I hand stitched together. And I think these were, excuse me, painted with watercolor paints. And actually this might be a great place to add the word courage so that it's on the page and I remember what the page is about. See how that little bit of black helped that image to pop. So I'm going to glue this down, and then I'm also going to add some black lines around the outside of our circle to make it pop and fit with the page just a little bit better. And we'll see if the glue stick will hold this. I might need to get some double stick tape on the back of that, but we'll start with some glue stick. Stencil butter on fabric. I've never worked with stencil butter. That sounds really fun. Okay, so what do we got here? Trying to decide, how black do I want this to be? So that's a little water soluble pencil, but I'm thinking probably a little bit darker than that. It's not quite popping out as much as I would like it to. So let's just create a little more of a shadowy glow around there. I could have done that with some white paint as well, but I wanted to keep with our theme of the black here. Definitely takes courage to go out in these crazy cold temperatures. I'm thinking. So my favorite part of a piece like this too is to excuse me, come in and then just have some fun with adding some final little marks and shapes to kind of starts to pull the piece all together. The courage to brave the elements, get outside every day and move more. You don't like being cold. Yes, I'm the same, Carol. I don't like being cold either, which was part of the our logic for joining our local gym was now we have no excuses. My car's in the garage and the only outside is walking from the car to the gym, and I think I can handle that. And I walk a lot in all weathers because I do love walking. Um, and here, when the sun is shining, it's warm. It warms the air. Like it's amazing. Even if it's in the, 20s, it feels beautifully warm. But 20s kind of my limit. Yes, Judy, I took a magazine image and cut her out on some cardstock so that I would have both a stencil and a mask to use of the figure. So this is just plain cardstock, and I used cardstock because I want it to be reusable. I love the shape of this character. All right. So that feels a little bit better. I'm thinking I want some maybe more little bit of black marks around, but maybe not by the time I do some writing on our silhouette here. So I'm going to get this super, super dry because I don't want to get that black acrylic paint on the nice tip of my Posca marker. The pool sounds lovely, Carol. When I went into the gym on Sunday and it said that the pool was heated to 84 degrees, it sounded like a really nice place to be relative to the temperature outside anyway. All right. This is kind of, I keep trying to make this pop out a little bit more because it keeps kind of marrying into the background because the colors are the same and not contrasting. And now I'm just going to take, I think I want my finer tip Posca, and I'm going to do some of that messy writing in there and do some more writing about courage so that I remember. And I'm almost thinking it might be fun to kind of do it in the form of affirmations. And again, just writing really big and loopy so that no one can read it but me. And I can layer things over, I can layer the lines. So I'm writing about having the courage to face fears and self-doubts, the courage to face discomfort. And I'm starting simply with, I have the courage to. Oops. I have the courage to ask for help. Something that's been on, go to the pool today. Heard the showers are not working. Yes, for sure. For sure. And it's just discomfort, right? It's just discomfort. It's not lasting. It's not going to hurt us, right? It's just, we cling to comfort as a culture. And my husband and I talk a lot about the benefits of embracing discomfort, being the place in that we get to grow, right? And so it takes courage to embrace discomfort. My husband is good at helping me, like at the gym or for hikes, get out and face things that feel really hard and challenging, and he always has been. My pen doesn't want to work. All right, so this is going to look different because it's a different nib, so we'll see what happens. Yes, the thought of the discomfort is worse than the actual thought. That's how I've also always felt about running. I don't love to run, and I always feel so good after I run. So, one of my goals this year would be to get back to running, which means I have some work to do to build up strength and stamina. Okay, so I'm not liking that nearly as much, right? I like this finer, more loopy writing here. So I'm going to go over that with black paint again, that section right there. And let's see if we can, I don't know why all of a sudden this guy decided to give up the ghost. You can see it's puddling and not wanting to write. It may be at the end of its life. A white gel pen would probably work here too. All right, it's going to be one of those mornings where that is just completely frustrating. Well, goodness. Nothing wants to work this morning. None of the white wants to work this morning. I love my uniballs, but I find they do tend to, I go through them really fast. And they definitely do not like to get anything in the tips. If they get anything in the tips, they get really gunked up and they will stop working. It's a little better. Pull the nib out and turn it over. I have tried that before. I can try it with this one and see what happens. It's not the nib is fine, it's the flow of ink, right? So the ink isn't flowing. So I might need to take the nib out and clean it and see where it's a little gunked up. And I love the word aspirations better than goals or intentions because it's what we're leaning into, it's what we're striving for, right? It's what we're moving towards. It's not a have to, it's not a should. It's a bit more about I'm moving in this direction and my aim is to end up somewhere different than where I'm starting. And I may not know where that is right now. So, connection between courage and aspirations. Think about that for a minute. And I've been thinking a lot about people so resist all of the messaging around new year, new you, and setting resolutions and goals and all of that stuff. A lot of which does come from marketing and people's effort to sell programs for sure. But what I love about this time of year is it's about endings and beginnings. It provides a clear opportunity to pause, reflect, let go, and reflect on what do we want to be different. If it's just always another day and we don't pause to reflect, so any moment can be a moment to pause and reflect. But I love this sort of turning of the year and the turning of the seasons is that invitation to slow down and look a little with a little more intention. So I actually love the new year, but I don't. Good morning, Blanca. Um, I don't feel the need to set, grandiose goals that I'm not going to reach, right? I quit doing that a long time ago, but I do love goal setting. I love planning. I love dreaming. I love thinking about opportunities for what's next. Okay, come on, you silly thing. All right, so all my whites are giving me grief. There we go. And so I just wrote affirmations. I have the courage to, I have the courage to. And now that I've done that, I'm kind of okay with that little bit of thicker in the center there. But now the page is feeling a lot more white, but it's an interesting page. And I'm thinking I want to come in and add a little more black mark making. I'm going to leave these black and white. I almost preferred the silhouette all black, so I might think about that a little bit. Maybe just some subtle contrast in here. It doesn't have to be. So I'm going to call this complete for the morning, and I'm probably going to come back to it later. I'm still thinking about what do I want to do here to get that to pop out a little bit more, but I'm feeling like I'm in a good stopping place. And it's time to just pause for the moment, step away from it, and then come back a little bit later and see what, if any, changes that I want to make for the page. And as I'm looking at it on screen, I'm thinking that I just want to bring some of that turquoise blue back and maybe just put a little bit more of a solid background. And again, I may end up painting that whole figure black again because I really did love the contrast of the black on there. And I love that I planted all of those words on the page. So it feels like I'm going to pause here. I will be back Thursday morning at 7 a.m. I'm so excited to be back with all of you guys, and hopefully by then I'll be even more past the head stuffiness that is lingering, and we'll see where we go next. Thanks so much for joining me live, everybody. Thanks for bearing with me while I was out last week. And I'm super excited to spend year number 2 of painting in your PJs with all of you. Yeah, some Stabilo. I couldn't find my Stabilo. That's what I was thinking of on. It needs some Stabilo around it and maybe around the flowers as well. All right, so much love, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Please stay warm and safe, and I'll see you all on Thursday.